I will accept your definition of theory. It's different than mine. You're using theory in a much more broad sense of all of the guiding experiences, wisdom, patterns, learning, everything that's there implicitly, I would say. So I would say that when you sit across from someone in a therapeutic context, and I mean you, not just generally, that the likelihood is that you really do sit there as yourself. You have the confidence to do that. And that what you find in yourself is this ebb and flow of all of these different experiencing that is now crossing with that particular client, and different things are coming up. Their story, your story, things you may have learned in the past, but they're coming up because for some reason they're evoked, they're implied in that particular interaction. Yeah. That they come up that way, which for me is something I totally accept. It's that in your learning and experiencing up until now, certain things have resonated and they've gone in and they become a part of you in some way. Mm-hmm. If you want to call all of that theory, that's fine with me. Then I need to have a different word for the kind of theory that I often do see used in therapy, which is much more, it may not be manualized in that it may not tell you exactly what to do, but it can tell you what you think is happening. It can give you a framework that is imported, not evoked, but simply imported as the therapist's own structure for how to think about everything, including this particular client. That is very different from what I would say you do.
Yes, yes. I love the way that you said that, because we've had this this sort of play fight for so many years. And that solves it, that when theory is evoked is very different than when it's imported.
Yes.
And I would say that even when it's imported, that it needs to be tried on and felt through. And
yes.
Like, is this going on?
Yeah. If it's imported as a suggestion, then it can still do something. If it's imported in a more oppressive way, where the client isn't allowed to object.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. But I was thinking in that instance of just the therapist by herself thinking, what the hell is going on around here? And then is it like what Winnicott says? Is it like what this one says? Is it like Jean saying that? And then trying on each of those theories, and then finding something that somebody says that says, oh, that gives me, oh, maybe. And then one could try that out.
But what I want to say is, for me, I would like there to be an in-between step where the therapist is like, what is going on here? And just totally like, whoa, whoa. And rather than going to 5 different theories to try to anchor him or herself, instead would go into that experience first of all, and maybe come up with the symbolizing. It's like, my goodness, I feel like I'm stuck in the mud down by the lake, and it's getting dark, and there should be some way out of this, and I can't move. And then it reminds me of what so-and-so said about blah, blah, blah. And then maybe there's a slightly more digested way of offering it.
Right.
So that in-between step feels important to me, although it doesn't always come. But if it comes, I think it helps something.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And that's the murky edge.
Yes.
Right? That Jean talks about listening and responding until there comes this sort of murky edge where you don't know what else to say, and then just staying there. So it's the staying there place, and maybe even saying it as you say, oh, I don't know what's there. Let's stay and see what's happening here. There's a psychoanalyst who hates the idea that of parts of a person or not, and says, there's a cohesive self, and that's a truth too. And those two, for me, those two truths don't have to obliterate each other, but the discovery doesn't.
I would object to the word cohesive self. I would say, in my language, I would say there's a continuity. There's some kind of a continuity, which I suspect is that person's cohesive self. And there's also all of this diversity.
Right.